Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Stephen Wessner, CEO of Predictive ROI and founder of our signature event, Predictive ROI Live, where over 2.5 days we bring together the world's leading experts in digital marketing and business leadership so we can help business owners achieve phenomenal growth guaranteed. And I have the distinct honor and pleasure of being with one of those experts today. His name is Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's the CEO of VaynerMedia, a social media expert and New York Times best-selling author. And so here we are in the headquarters of VaynerMedia on Park Avenue in New York City with this unprecedented opportunity to be able to pull out of Gary his greatest insights and trends, those things that nobody else on the planet is paying attention to, because that is one of his gifts, and be able to share that with you so that you can apply it for maximum results. So Gary, thank you very much for taking the time to be here.
Thanks for having me. That whole Park Avenue in New York City makes me feel very bougie. Good thing I dressed down. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for allowing us to come in and take some of your time. So one of my favorite quotes from you is when you say, "Don't be that person that refuses to play like the year that we're in." And I know that that's really deep. There's a lot of meaning to that.
Yeah.
So let's start there, because I'd love to get your take on that.
You know, I round that quote off, and right now, I'd probably even do it at the event I'm with, which is, this is now 2014. 95% of this audience is marketing like it's 2004. So that's where it comes from. It comes from the fact that, much like you, we get to work with a lot of great companies, and we're working mainly with Fortune 500 companies where you think plenty of budgets, no exclusive money, right? You're talking about the biggest companies in the world, and yet they continue to ask questions that make me laugh. I come much more from Silicon Valley and entrepreneurship than I do from Madison Avenue. And what we're getting is a lot of people, whether big or small, large or small family business, whether it's dollars or mentality, they're not using the tools that are at their disposal. And so for me, that's always been the case. I launched WineLibrary.com in 1996. Right? Nobody thought you needed a .com for a local liquor store. And that was the business I grew up in my family. In 99, I was doing SEO marketing, right? This was 4 or 5 years before people felt like it was something to do. Right. I was buying the word wine on Google for 5 cents, right? Before the minimum even went up. Banner ads, and then YouTube in 2006. And then Twitter in 2007. My whole life has been people asking, what's the ROI? Does that really drive results? I mean, there's people that are watching this video right now, and they don't want to admit it, but there are people watching this video right now that thought the internet was a fad, that they didn't want to build a website because it was going to be a waste of money. And so this is a rinse and repeat thing. I'm not that smart. It's just, I know that most people don't realize all the opportunities that are at hand because they're more crippled by the fact that they don't know how to quantify success. And to me, I'm crippled by not actually doing the things that are relevant today, because you're overpaying for things that have been established and you're underpaying for the opportunity.
So that reminds me in many ways of, there's a direct correlation there with what our mutual friend, Avinash Kashi from Google,
yes,
what he said to me a couple of weeks ago, and that was, the companies that are going to be successful moving forward are the ones that don't have the 80 years of hang-ups.
Of course.
And if they don't adapt and change and be proactive and actually start to lead, play like the year that we're in, then they're going to be done in 8 years. We're just out of it.
It's what music, right? Like, where does good music come from? Great music come from? It comes from people that are growing up being influenced by things, but it's naivete. Being native, like that's what happened here at VaynerMedia. I didn't know anything about the agency world, and that's why we're growing one of the fastest agencies, because I'm asking dumb questions, but those dumb questions are grounded in business. And so, when you know what the rules are, you play within them. I mean, this has been long figured out, right? There's science and psychology that wraps around listen, I wasn't a great student, right? And I'm not well read. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's my advantage. Like, there's a lot of things I don't know. I say things that people think they're brilliant statements. They've been said before, they just were said in different ways. And if I actually knew how they said them, I would use that quote. But I don't. So, and I think that it's a funny thing to think about. I think about that a lot. That I get a lot of credit for a lot of things that are actually grounded in weaknesses, not strengths. And so there's a lot of strengths when you've been an 80-year company and you have 100 locations. But there's a ton of weaknesses, and those weaknesses are in being a fat cow. It's like you're doing well. Mm-hmm. You don't know that. The guy that owned 4,000 horses for transportation, he might have heard about that Henry Ford thing, but he was doing well. And he didn't want to worry about that. And then technology and innovation killed that business. You know, Barnes and Nobles and Borders and Walden Books, they didn't want to hear about that Amazon thing in 95, right? They're like, fine. But that innovation put them out. Blockbuster was aware of what Netflix was doing, but they didn't want to hear it in their brain, not their ears. Not hearing it in your brain is very, very dangerous.
Well, and one of the things that I can't wait for your next book. I mean, you've written 2 bestsellers already, Crush It and Thank You Economy. Can't wait for Jab, 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 Right Hook to come out. And you know, as I watch your videos and I see the bits and pieces that you're putting out there right now, one of the things that is so compelling is how you're teaching people to not only tell stories, but you're teaching people how to tell stories through social. So it's sharing, not pushing. So why do you think that is so important, that people understand that it's not pushing, it's about telling stories through social?
Because let's go top line. It's really important, number one, because the attention of the consumer is there. You know, this great guy right here, this San Diego resident that does not like the Chargers, exactly him 15 years ago would have watched a lot of television and read the newspaper. And his attention is now in his phone and other places. And every business in the world's only job is to tell people their story somewhere along the decision-making path.
Okay.
As we started going to desktop computers, SEO and SEM mattered. Banners mattered, pre-rolls mattered. As we go to mobile, new dynamics. Tough to do those banner ads on a mobile device. Like, the game changes.
Right.
Social networks are very fertile grounds to do marketing and storytelling. The problem is most people disrespect them. See, what's happened is every other platform pre-social, all of them, was a place to distribute your message. Social is living and breathing. A customer can have a profile just like you can, big company, and that dynamic changes. A customer can say something about your company and lots of other customers can see it at scale. That changes the dynamic. Most of all, we're disrespecting the psychology of why somebody's in a phone, scrolling through their news feed or their tweets. And so what I'm trying to do is help people understand that a 3-hour movie needs different creative than a 30-second commercial, which needs different creative than a radio ad, right? A radio ad is a great place to do a jingle, right? You're not gonna get a jingle on a billboard on a highway.
Right.
Understanding how to tell your story within Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Pinterest, Instagram, Vine, Snapchat is very important because they have hundreds of millions of users, tens of millions on the lower scale, but they're all very different. But everybody who's watching this video buckets it as social media, and the way they really default into is just using it to distribute other information. They go to their Facebook wall, their company page, they put 3 words and they put a link to something else, and they think of social as distribution, not as a place to natively tell a story. That's where I think the opportunity lies in the next half decade.
So then what do you tell a company that says, hey Gary, that all sounds fantastic, giving the story thing, but we have this policy here where we don't want our executives or managers even participating on Facebook.
Right.
Because what happens if, Gary, one of our executives is at a party on a weekend and they're, somebody snaps a photo of them doing something unprofessional, whatever, goes out on Facebook, they get tagged in it, spreads like wildfire, that hurts us.
Well, let's talk about that real quick, because your scenario actually has nothing to do with whether those executives are on social or not. The one that you just painted me was not that the executive did a drunken tweet. The one that you just told me was a third-party person took a picture and put it out there.
Yes.
Whether you're on Facebook or Twitter or not, that was not stopped by that policy.
Exactly.
I mean, we're living in a very transparent world. Now, the notion of we don't want to put our executives, we don't want them to have Twitter accounts, believe it or not, this may throw you for a curveball. Fine. Like, okay, are you, because I think people that are on the defense, lose. I have no emotion to convince anybody that they should be doing this. I actually prefer they lose. It allows me to get more, right? I mean, if you really want that to know the truth. I'm not in the business of convincing you something like that. There are a lot of financial institutions, there are a lot of pharma, alcoholic institutions that their legal department dictates what they do more than the marketers and the business people.
Yeah.
And those companies are gonna be in trouble in a very transparent world, because if you're not talking, you're not talking. And if you're only talking in the yellow pages and direct mail and industry trade magazines, you're in a little bit of a problem. And so, I get it, but that scenario you painted me does nothing.
It doesn't mitigate risk whatsoever.
It mitigated risk zero,
Right.
and it took away opportunity.
Exactly.
That sounds terrible.
Right. Huge downside.
But I also, on the flip side, because I want to make it clear, we don't tell all of our executives of our companies that your CEO has to be. A big thing 3 years ago was everybody's writing articles. Every CEO should be on Twitter. Of course, everybody came and asked me what my opinion was. My opening question is, well, tell me about your CEO. And if the CEO is out of touch and a jerk and just cares about money, doesn't sound like a very fun consumer-facing person.
No.
So not everybody has to do everything, but the company logo needs to be everywhere. And so I'm less worried about the individual humans, right? Mm-hmm. But the company logo, humanizing that logo, creating an account on Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest, all those, that to me is a must. I think creating content for the social internet is literally the cost of relevance in today's society.
So how do you blend that with the logo, but then also humanizing it? Because when you were in front of the group Biz Bash, the Eventbrite,
Yes.
Great video.
Thank you.
And you talked about how, look, whether you want to believe it or not, I mean, you're a media channel. Essentially through these social media accounts. I mean, that's the type of responsibility that you should take. I mean, that was a pretty powerful message to all of those event planners or the complexion of that group.
Yeah.
So how do you take this logo and then make it also that personal type of connection, which is so important?
You talk like a human being and not like a press release. Like a lot of companies have put up their corporate site and it's like a press release, like they put out on PR News.
Yeah.
That's not what people want on Twitter. They want to communicate. So you find somebody within the organization or an outside agency that can capture the voice you're looking for, and you go. I mean, you're asking, what you're asking me? How do you have a good personality? I don't know, have a good personality. Be funny, listen, be reverent, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to execute. And so it's actually very easy. The thought of making a bottled water an interesting thing to follow is actually a lot easier than you think. Meaning, here's a good analogy for people watching.
Okay.
If you were a chef 25 years ago, as a profession, you were the help. No, right? A lot of daughters brought home chefs to their dads 30 years ago, and they were scared, appalled, angered. Today, it's incredible.
Oh, sure.
Very sexy to be a chef.
Right.
Why did that happen? Here's why. The Food Network came along, and they story told. That's it. You have to tell a story. If a bottled water can be interesting around sports, people will follow it.
And they build personality around all those different show characters.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Great.
I mean, whether you're, I can't believe that nobody's become America's lawyer. We have Dr. Phil, right? We have Dr. Oz.
Right.
That can be done through social if somebody takes it. America's dentist. It can be done. Though I became America's wine guy. That was my first move as a stepping stone. So,
which I just learned recently that you had turned down. Was it Food Network who wanted you to
Bravo.
do the show? Bravo wanted you to do the show, and then you backed away from it because you wanted to go.
Because I realized somewhere in that courtship that I was more proud that I was the marketer behind me becoming known than that I was the wine guy.
Yeah. So I love the give, then ask philosophy. I love how you say, I'm a firm believer that I can, then guilt somebody into doing it. Just really good stuff.
I really do.
Yeah. So tell us some more about that because
about jab, right hook's
yeah.
philosophy. So jab, right hook stands for give, and then ask. That's what I want to happen on social media. For the people that are watching this video that are fortunate enough to be paying attention and following brands and people on social, you know that 99% of people are jerks. They just push, buy my book, buy my wine, come to our conference, watch this video. It's just push. Social at its best is you giving, you putting out free videos of keynotes, you answering people's questions. And then every 15th tweet, that would be jab, right? Every 15th tweet or Facebook status update, you're putting out, go to Amazon and pre-order my book. It would mean a lot to me. It's just old-fashioned rules, right? Like the reason you did things for people back in the day is because they did things for you. And so that is my overall thesis in business, but specifically it's translated very heavy to social because people stop following people that are pushing all the time, or at worst, if they don't unfollow them, they tune them out. And so we're in a very noisy world, Everybody's got email services, everybody's got banner ads, everybody's got pre-rolls, everybody's got direct mail and radio and television and websites and Facebook accounts and Twitter accounts, or some mix of those. If you don't figure out how to bring value to your end user along the way of you pitching them, I think you become very irrelevant. I mean, look at open rates on email and click-throughs on banner ads and click-throughs on SEM. And it's changing.
It is changing, and changing rapidly.
I mean, we're living through the collapse of open rates and click-throughs on email, the collapse of, Google reported that AdWords click-throughs are down 15%.
Yeah, which was astonishing. And you shared that with the Eventbrite group.
Google, so what is the real number, right? But think about it. Think about this. When I used to want to go out to a restaurant 10 years ago, I went to Google, best restaurants in New York City.
Right.
Now I tweet, right? I tweet, what restaurants are people going to? And my collective community is giving me insight with context versus somebody who bought an ad on Google or was good at SEO.
It's phenomenal.
It's a big shift.
Well, you have been such a great mentor to me. I've learned a ton from you. But this type of stuff is exactly why I'm very excited for you to be in front of our group at Predictive ROI Live, because this message is very, very important for them to be able to hear. And so your give, then ask philosophy is perfect for them. Because we're going to have, kind of a compilation of people who, some early adopters, some people who are, now just kind of, hitting their groove, and then there's going to be some people there who this is going to be, wow, really? This is what's totally happening? That can't be true. And so I think your message in front of that group is awesome.
And I think what's important is I'm like everybody in that group, right? Like, I'm not as brilliant as Avanesh and other people of that nature. I grew up in a bricks and mortar family liquor store business. Mm-hmm. Like, everything in my life is about selling. I'm not here to be Mother Teresa or some great philosopher or thought leader. I'm here because I like selling stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think that matters, right? I come from a very business filter. This is not about making the world better. I wish I could say that, but it's not. This is about consumer behavior this year. And does that mean there's plenty of people watching right now saying, yeah, but my customer. Yes, you're a customer. But please recognize that's exactly what Borders and Barnes & Noble said. They said, my customer likes coming to the store and touching the book, right? Blockbuster, literally in the quotes in their board meeting, said, yeah, but people like the experience of touching the DVDs.
Not really.
It's just, people like having the horse. They trust it. The car's scary. Does that mechanical thing work? Yeah, that's a 2-year, 3-year conversation. And then when everybody comes out on the flip side, of course that's how they want it.
The fact that they've spent millions of dollars building the infrastructure to justify that, so they need to figure out a way to kind of defend that.
Of course. Right? Listen, I'm the same way. I tell wineries all the time, you should be good at selling direct to consumer that you can ship to them. Because if you don't, I'm going to take your money. But if they get really great at it, my wine retail business is out of business, right? If you can buy it directly from the winery, and everybody does. So you have to continue to find your value proposition, which is why I started the show. I said, wait a minute, I'm vulnerable. And this is 2006. Right. 7 years ago, I started an internet show because I was worried about the vulnerability of us having wineries sell direct to consumer. And I figured if I became influential, that me as a curator would protect me against wineries selling direct.
So why do you not think that that's brilliant? Or really smart?
I do think that's smart. I do think that's smart. But I think it's fun, it's business, because I started with that seed, but then I evolved in opportunities. I learned about Twitter and I became a media company. Oh, by the way, I think, I'm looking at the camera, I think everybody who's watching this video is in the media business, whether you're a human being or organization. Everybody has to realize that we're in media now. Because media's been decentralized. Anybody can start a video show. Anybody can start a radio show. Anybody can do this now for free.
Right.
Free for distribution, free for cost of doing it. Now, promotion becomes the variable. How do you get people aware of it? But quality is a funny way of getting people to be aware of it.
Yes, and being able to produce good quality content consistently. I mean, it's not easy to produce all of those episodes that you did.
Which is why it's fun that I won, because I deserved to win. I did it for 6 years every day for 30 minutes and I knew what I was talking about.
Right.
Quality rises to the top now more than ever.
When people read Seth Godin's blog, they know that he's doing that every single day, and he's done that for years that way.
Almost 10 years now.
Right, and he's just a dependable expert that people can rely on.
Yeah, it matters.
It does matter. Well, thanks for today. This was, definitely in line with the give. I mean, it's fantastic stuff.
Thank you.
We can't wait to share with our audience, and you've been very gracious. Your hospitality here today in Vayner Media is awesome. Thanks for us being able to use the conference room downstairs to prep and so forth. And also thank you for agreeing to do the Q&A session with our VIPs.
Which is going to be the best. Which, by the way, is like, I mean, listen, I love being on stage and having everybody listen to me, but when you can answer people's questions, you're giving them tangible. In an hour and 45 minutes on a keynote stage, I have to go general because there's 3 or 4 or 5 or 15 different groups of people in different places. I try to get as detailed as I can because I want to crush, but when you can do Q&A, you're really putting the pedal to the metal, which, I like doing.
For sure. I mean, it's going to be outstanding.
Thank you.
So thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Everybody, thanks very much for joining us today. We're going to put additional free training and resources out at predictiveROIlive.com/Gary. So you can go to that and get those free materials as well. And thanks very much for being here, and bye for now.